Good day, ma'am. The title of the story that we're going to report is In a Groove by Ryūnosuke Akutagawa. Early life and education. Ryūnosuke Akutagawa was born on March 1, 1892 in Tokyo, Japan. His mother experienced hallucinations and anxiety when he was young. He was a sickly child and became interested in reading. He gained admission to the prestigious Tokyo University, where he studied English and English literature. While still an undergraduate, Akutagawa published a short story titled Rashomon in 1915, which gained the attention of famous Japanese novelist Natsume Soseki in 1867 to 1916. Soseki encouraged Akutagawa's growth as a writer. Akutagawa continued to write stories set in feudal Japan. However, he applied a modernist take to many traditional tales and used literary techniques and styles that Europeans had introduced to Japan in prior decades. In a Groove and many of Akutagawa's other stories feature violence and other adult-oriented material. Akutagawa's work took on autobiographical tone in his later years. These stories were not as successful as those he had written in his 20s. Mental illness and death. While he was in his early 30s, Akutagawa began suffering from a mental illness similar to what his mother experienced when he was a child. The effects became so severe that he committed suicide on July 24, 1927 in Tokyo, Japan. His death shocked the Japanese literature world. So this story published in 1922, and the genre of the story is mystery.
Historical and social context. Literary modernism. Modernism is an artistic movement that started in the late 19th century and continued up until World War II. In literature, writers reacted to the rapidly industrializing world by crafting stories in which the characters felt disillusioned and fragmented from their society and culture. Other literary techniques writers developed during this time includes stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness involves one or more characters' instantaneous reactions to outside events. In a Groove, uses the stream of consciousness technique as the three main characters present their emotions, impressions, and reactions without interruption. Edo period, Japan, and the samurai class. Although Ryūnosuke Akutagawa does not state when In a Groove takes place, readers can infer that the story occurs during the Edo period. The era was marked by relative stability when samurai like Kanazawa no Takehiko held a powerful position in Japanese society. The story alludes to this period when the woodcutter mentions the Yamashina Stage Road, a fictional part of the 303-mile Tokaido Road that connected the capital of Edo, which is now Tokyo, with Kyoto. The stages each had well-regulated entry and exit gates, and they did not exist in earlier eras. Samurai were at the pinnacle of Japan's caste system during the Edo period. They lived in castle towns and reported to a daimyo or feudal lord. Daimyo took direction from the shogun, a national leader who lived in Edo. The samurai lived by the Bushido Code, or the way of the warrior. The Bushido Code prompted samurai to adopt a warrior spirit, loyalty, and fidelity. Although samurai during the Edo period learned swordsmanship and received money from the government, many took an additional jobs to support themselves and their families. This necessity transformed the samurai class from a group of warriors into the nation's bureaucracy. In a Groove depicts how samurai during the Edo period, such as Kanazawa no Takehiko, married young. Marriages were usually arranged. A matchmaker would pair a samurai with an acceptable bride who was a virgin. Masago's reaction to Dajumoro ripping her reflects Edo period beliefs that originated approximately 600 years before the story takes place. In the 11th century, Japanese novel The Tale of Genji, what believed what modern readers would regard as rape was considered a form of seduction. These cultural beliefs explain why Masago is traumatized less by the rape and more by the fact that she has known two men sexually. Japanese Buddhism. Buddhas are humans who attain enlightenment and move on the afterlife, and Bodhisattvas are humans who attain enlightenment but remain on earth to help others. If a person could attain enlightenment, they could move on the Pure Land, a heavenly place free of the Buddhist cycle of death and rebirth. The Buddhist priest Tajumaru and Masako all invoke Buddhist techniques during their testimony. In a Groove uses Buddhist beliefs and symbols to illustrate these characters' mental or emotional states. Elements of the short story. Narrative point of view. The form of the story is 7 dramatic monologues. A dramatic monologue is a form of one-sided dialogue in which a speaker interacts with someone else who is also speaking, but his words are never directly given. In the first dramatic dialogue, the woodcutter addresses a commissioner who asked him questions, which we only know indirectly by means of the woodcutter's responses. Yes, sir, you asked me if I saw a sword or any such thing. Each of the dramatic dialogue has a highlighted title, for example, The Testimony of a Woodcutter Questioned by a High Police Commissioner. The titles are form of third-person narration, but the content of the 7 testimonies is first-person narration. Each of the 7 is a personal testimony, which is by definition first person. Plot. The plot is simply the juxtaposition of contradictory accounts of the events in the groove. It is not a detective or mystery plot, not about whodunit or about the truth of what happened. Simply a presentation of the differing accounts of the same event by the woodcutter, the bandit, the wife, and the husband. There is no resolution. Characters: Kanazawa no Takehiko, Masago, Tajumaru, the woodcutter, Buddhist, priest, policeman. Setting and context. The majority of the action takes place in a bamboo grove near Kyoto in pre-modern times. Tone and mode. While the tone is consistently mysterious and matter-of-fact, the mode shifts from procedural to become increasingly dreamlike, mysterious, and unreliable. Major conflict. The story's central conflict concerns the difficulty of determining who murdered Takehiro when varying accounts both corroborate and contradict other claims. Climax. Since the story offers multiple perspectives on the events that lead to Takehiro's death, there are several climaxes in Tajimura's confession. The climax occurs when he unties Takehiko and the men engage in a sword fight. In Masago's confession, the climax occurs when she decides to kill Takehiro and herself. In Takehiro's spirit's testimony, the climax takes place when Masago orders Tajumaru to kill Takehiro.
Analysis of the story. The story's indisputable facts. In a Groove provides some indisputable facts that readers can use as a foundation to explore the mystery of who killed Kanazawa no Takehiko. The testimonies of the 3 main characters, Kanazawa no Takehiko, Masago, and Tajumaru, do not contradict one another in many ways. They agree on details surrounding how the 3 met. Tajumaru luring the couple into the woods and Tajumaru raping Masago. Although Tajumaru reveals most of these details in his confession, Masago and Kanazawa no Takehiko do not refute them. testimonies of the other characters also do not provide any information that puts the first part of Tajumaru's confession into suspicion. Who killed Kanazawa no Takehiko? Ina Groove provides three explanations of how Kanazawa no Takehiko died. He may have died by his own hand, by Masago's hand, or by Tajumaru's hand. All are equally possible. Tajumaru killing Kanazawa no Takehiko seems the least likely from a historical standpoint. The policeman testifies that Tajumaru preys on women and does not mention any crimes against him. Tajumaru admits that even he had trouble subduing Masago when she lunged at him with her small sword. He states during his confession, "She might have wounded me deeply or killed me." This admission brings into question just how skilled he would be against Kanazawa no Takehiko, who was highly trained samurai. Tajumaru also recounts that it took 23 strokes to kill Kanazawa Takehiko. It is unlikely that anyone, and especially someone fighting for his life, would recall the exact number of sword strokes. The two options that Kanazawa no Takehiko died by his own hand or Masago's hand make more sense in light of feudal Japanese values concerning honor and redemption. By raping Masago, Tajumaru stole her honor and brought shame to her because she knew the two men sexually. The rape also brought dishonor on Kanazawa no Takehiko because his decision to enter the groove with Tajumaru led to his wife's rape. The couple could regain their honor by committing suicide. Masago and Kanazawa no Takehiko's story neglect one essential fact regarding the seppuku ritual. Neither depiction of Kanazawa no Takehiko's death correctly portrays the male seppuku ritual. A disgraced samurai in feudal Japan committed seppuku by slashing his belly open, not stabbing his chest or having his wife do it for him. Kanazawa no Takehiko's testimony is told through a spirit medium. In a Groove alludes that the medium does not speak to the High Police Commissioner by the lack of definition in its final section title, "The Story of the Murdered Man as Told Through a Medium." As a result, the testimony plays no role in the official investigation. The story leaves it up to the readers whether to consider the story's final section as valid or the imagination of a person who had nothing to do with Tajumaru, Masago, and Kanazawa no Takehiko's deadly encounter. Because all three stories contradict one another, it is impossible for readers to determine who killed Kanazawa no Takehiko. And that's all. Thank you.